Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about all the things that I got up to in August of 2025. As per usual, there'll be like timestamps below if you want to jump around to anything. I don't have a ton of tarot, I don't have a ton of planning, and I don't have a ton of journaling this time because I actually spent a good chunk of the month hanging out with, well, Lisa for a whole week, which was amazing. We had a little staycation at my house. I'll circle back to that. But then my oldest moved back in, so most of the month was just spent kind of like getting those spaces ready for him, getting his room ready, moving all of the stuff we had in there out, and then I had to basically reintegrate everything back into this room. It was kind of just a month of actually like hanging out and being crazy and playing, and then creating this space in here, which was a lot of, I'll be honest, like tears and some rage moments. I decluttered about half of my collection. We'll kind of touch upon that here in a minute. But first, let's kind of like try to maybe go in order. So let's talk about Lisa's visit because that was so much fun. We had a blast. We bounced back and forth between like super chaos mode, and if you watched any of our gaming over on Twitch, we played Grand Theft Auto quite a bit. We attempted to play the new Hobbit game, which actually is a super cozy game, and I've been enjoying playing it like on my own, just when I'm chilling. And it was really fun, but we together were in chaos mode at that time during that visit, and like we were just unhinged in that game and totally inappropriate. So while we did play the Hobbits, we ended up circling back to Grand Theft Auto because like when we're gaming in the same room, it's kind of funny. We're much more chaotic than when we're gaming from our separate spaces. So we bounce back and forth between like total chaos mode in terms of like gaming and things like that to absolute comfort vibes where we just like cuddled up on the couch and we binged watch a bunch of shows. The ebb and flow of it was really, I think, reflective of Lisa and I's relationship. Like sometimes we're just in full-on chaos mode and sometimes we're just in cozy hang out together mode. And it was so nice just to be able to like not have any plans or really any agenda. We had like a few couple of shopping things that we wanted to do. We definitely wanted to hit the bookstore, which we did twice. We ended up at the mall, of all places. I haven't been in a mall in a really long time. We went into the store and there was a bunch of Sanrio stuff. If you don't know, Sanrio is the creator of Hello Kitty. And I never done the Hello Kitty thing. Like it's like not my vibe, man. It's cute and all of that, but it's just not my thing. So I never did the Hello Kitty thing. I've never seen the Hello Kitty stuff really, like the shows or anything like that. Didn't pay much attention to the merch or anything. We were walking through and like I saw this character, Kuromi, and like she's right here. And I went down a rabbit hole. I did a whole haul video, so I'm not gonna go into it here about like what all I got. But now it's like a whole thing and we've dragged Danny into it. So it's Lisa, Danny, and I. And we've all kind of got these little like assigned Sanrio characters. Mine is Kuromi and she is like, our tagline is like cheeky but charming, I think. And she's just got this like whole vibe. This is totally like my inner teenager. And I love her energy. I bought a bunch of Kuromi stuff. I'm still buying Kuromi stuff. Like I'm such a magpie. Once I find something I love, I like need it all. And I gotta collect it all. And I gotta create like little collections with it. So that was a little bit of kind of chaos slash comfy because like, in the moment, it was like chaos of just like, oh my God, we need all the things. Like we went to every freaking store in the mall that we could possibly find these characters at. We went back to the mall a second time later that night because like then we went down the rabbit hole of researching characters and it was just a whole thing. So we actually went to the mall twice in one day just to go shopping and buy more characters, which was a little bit chaos, but then also just going through it all together and you know, watching the shows together was just full on comfy vibes. But it was such a great time. It was a great visit. We got to just hang out, chill together. We were the only ones here, so we had a nice little staycation at my house. My husband was on a motorcycle trip at the time, and Peggy stayed up in Canada with their pups, and so it was just Lisa and I, and we had a great little bestie staycation. It was so much fun. We did a live here on my channel. If you missed that, I'll link it below. So then after Lisa left, I started the sort of monumental task of cleaning out my office, decluttering my decks and my books, and then moving everything from my gaming room back in here because now that's going to be my son's room. And so it was a really long process. Kevin was out of town for a little bit of it. I legit called him crying because I was like, I don't know how I keep ending up here. I don't know how this keeps happening. And he's like, because babe, you got too much stuff. And I was like, yeah, I probably do. And then he made me promise I wouldn't do anything else until he got home. But like he wasn't going to be home for 3 days. So I didn't actually keep that promise. He didn't actually expect it to because like we've been married almost 30 years. Like he knows me. So anyway, I went ahead and kept like powering through this whole process. I ended up with like piles of decks on the floor again, which I do not recommend anybody do, but it just seems to keep happening because I was just pulling everything off the shelves and it's like, well, where's it gonna go? It just went on the floor. So then I cried and then I walked away because I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. It's so overwhelming. I don't even know how many decks I had at that point. I had lost count once I got over 500. And I know like total deja vu because I know I've been here before. I know I've had this discussion before. And it just like keeps happening again and again. And it's because I'm not being mindful about not only what I'm purchasing, but what I also have. And so I'm going to try to work on that a little bit. That's like one of my goals for the rest of the year. So I pulled everything off the shelf. And then what I wanted to do was basically I grabbed a selection of decks. Like they weren't in any sort of like order or anything. I just grabbed a handful of decks. I made 3 boxes, one for I wanted to keep it, one for I wasn't sure, and one for I'm going to get rid of it. So basically I took these small piles and I divided them up into those 3 boxes. Now these boxes were small, like it wasn't for me to put my whole entire collection in one of 3 boxes. I just did them in small chunks. So once I had them divided up into those 3 boxes, like I legit like left and I went and I played a cozy game for a little while, like 20 minutes or so, you know, just like did a quest or 2. So then I came back in here and I didn't look at the keep box and I didn't look at the get rid of box. All I did was focus on what was in the maybe box. And then those got sorted out into one of the 2. Either I was keeping it or I wasn't. And so I went through this whole process over a couple of days with just a small selection of decks. And my keep pile ended up in one side of the room, my rehome pile ended up on the other. And basically at the end of this whole process, everything I had ended up on the bookshelves that I was keeping, which is where I want them. If it doesn't fit here, I don't want to keep it. Like this is comfortable to me. I can see everything I have. I know what's in here. It's all readily available to me. And I didn't like having just boxes and boxes of decks piled up in the closet. I also no longer have a purgatory pile. It's not to say that I won't start one again if I am iffy about a deck, but basically anything that was in purgatory is now either gone or it's in the box to be rehomed. So nothing is in the maybe category anymore. It is either here or it's not gonna be, and that's, or it already is gone because I donated a bunch of stuff. While my creative process and how I kind of like operate internally is very much like chaos driven and creatively driven, I don't like chaos in my external world. I like my spaces to be really organized. I want to know where everything is. I want it to feel like it's purposeful for where it is or why I have it. That's not to say that I don't have things that are just like for collecting, because I certainly do. But I really like to know that just that's the purpose of it, right? I have it because it's part of a collection. And it's really important for my mental health as well as for my creative process to have everything around me in order, because then if it's not, the chaos in my brain is like almost unmanageable. Like it's the chaos from the outside like seeps in and just overwhelms. That's kind of what I've decided is like my sweet spot. I need to be in order, but actually internally be in chaos. And like that works for me. So anyway, I got my whole office put back together. I've got like my decks and some little collections and some books on all of the shelves. I've got some decks in baskets. Behind the glass, I also have more decks and I have just some collectibles, a lot of my dice, which are in jars. And then as we move on to the other bookshelves. We have, more books, some little collections of things. Like the whole vibe I was going for here in my space was kind of like a curiosity shop. You know how you go into those shops and they have the books and the things that they're selling, but then they also have all these like little weird trinkety things or just odd curiosities tucked in here and there. That was kind of the vibe I was going for, although my curiosities tend to be more like nerdy gamer related or fandom related than anything else. But what I really wanted was a space that really reflected me and the things that I was passionate about and interested in. So I kind of created these little like vignettes. It definitely feels like this kind of unique blend of it's my gamer side meets my tarot planner, paper, book lover side. And like they just all came together in this one space. And actually, I think it works really well. It feels very much like me in here and I enjoy working in this space. So that's really great. Because what was happening before is that I was getting completely overwhelmed with everything that was in this space. And like I just kept adding stuff in it. But I had another room. So if I got too overwhelmed with like this shit piled up on my desk or just stuff overflowing on the shelves, like I just wouldn't work in here. I'd just go into the other room. And that was just me running away from the problem rather than actually addressing it. So this whole process was great because it made me address the whole problem of letting this space kind of get out of hand. And integrating them all into one is really nice because I feel like it's all the parts of me coming together. And it is really reflective of what I want to do moving forward with my content. I do have 2 separate channels and, don't worry, I'm not going to add like gaming stuff to this channel. That's always going to live in its separate space. However, when the gaming meets tarot or meets journaling or meets creative projects that I'm doing, I want to be able to feel like this is a space that I can do that in, not only, here in this space with you all on this channel, but physically in this space as well. And so that's kind of my goal is I want to be able to integrate more of that. I do a lot of play work and I do a lot of narrative. I was going to say therapy, but I really, really hesitate to use that word because I am not a therapist and everything that I do is just learned through trial and error and research. But I do a lot of narrative work, I do a lot of play work, and I do so in a way that is geared towards my personal growth practice. And so those are some of the things that I'd like to be sharing along the way, and they will cross over into things like gaming or fandom or books or journaling and all of that. And so I just want to make sure that I have a space that is conducive to that. And I feel like I kind of hit it here. So I'm happy with it. I am ready to move forward with some new things that I have planned for you all, as well as like big stuff I have going on in 2026. I know we still have a few months left to go in the year, and I definitely have some projects that I need to finish up before the end of the year, but I am also looking at next year because I have a lot of stuff in the works. I have 4 books, 3 of which are nonfiction, 1 fiction. Everything I do here in this channel, everything that I do in my member space. I have a new guided practice that we're going to be doing in 2026, which is a fun, really creative, invitational kind of practice. I do have a game, an actual RPG that I am writing and creating as well that uses tarot. So that's again another big project. So I have all these big things going on. And I just needed to get, again, a little bit more organization. My process for creating these things can be creative, but the things that I do to support it, the environment that I create around it needs to be ordered. And so that's something that I've really come to understand about myself, and I'm really working on honoring that and making sure that I'm putting things in place that will support my creative process and support the work that I'm doing and what I want to bring out into the world. So that's kind of like where I am at, like personally with what's been going on throughout the month of August, hanging out with Lisa and, revamping my space, working on new content, working on plans for next year, and just really looking at expanding and growing and sharing more of what I am already doing but haven't shared a lot publicly. I've shared some more in member space, and if you want to see me completely unedited with whatever comes out of my mouth, Member space is where that all happens. So if you ever just want to like hang out, we do some lives, I do some behind the scenes stuff, take a look at the decks that I buy and kind of talk about why I buy them, or I completely lose track of what I'm talking about and end up telling you this story about this thing that I remembered because I saw this thing in this card and it made me think of that, and I totally tangent and go down rabbit holes. So if you enjoy that kind of thing, definitely check out Member Space. We also have a private Discord. So let's talk about the small selection of decks that I did end up working with this month. I had picked out a few others, never got around to them, or I didn't end up doing those practices this month, which is totally okay. So we're just going to jump in with a few that I did actually work with. Now, I had a bit of a kind of a fun but also frustrating time with this little selection of decks. The whole grouping together was a blast. This deck has been a little bit of a challenge for me this month. So this is the Tarot of the Enchanted Garden. And I did do a fun little video with this deck where actually I was recording my daily card pull that I was doing with it, and like the cards went flying. We had a time. It wasn't like the greatest experience, and for fun, and again, that video was meant to be kind of just a fun little cheeky, let me make an emo video because I'm feeling very emo about this deck right now. And I made a little video about it, which was just a fun little couple minutes where I edited together some music and some visuals with this deck. I'm going to say that I absolutely love the artwork in this deck, but I find this cardstock almost impossible to work with. I don't know what it is about this cardboardy, and it's really not even as thick as some of the other ones that I've got here, but something about it, it's like big, it's chunky, it's heavy, and I have a really hard time working with it. The cardstock is enough of a deterrent for me that I really struggled with it. And to be perfectly honest, there were times when I just kind of like groaned when I pulled this deck out. I was being very emo about it. I have to basically, because of the cardstock is so thick, I have to basically divide it into piles. Now, there are decks that I will make exception for. It's got to be a deck I really, really love, and it's got to be a deck that has really some special meaning to me. This, I'll be honest, is not it. While I like this deck and I like this artwork, this whole process of having to do this, and even chunking it down like this, is a bit of a stretch for my hands. Now, granted, I have small hands. I get that. But this is a stretch for my hands. It takes me out of my normal shuffling routine, which is a part of my card reading ritual. And it just makes it really difficult for me to really sink into this particular deck. I think I've got one of my lights adding some weirdness to the cards. So yep, that was it. So I'll just turn that one off. One of my extra lights on just is really my reading light, and it was just on, so I turned it off. But anyway, I'm not going to go into my whole like cardstock rant. Like, I did a whole video on how important cardstock actually is. This is a tool. I'm supposed to be able to use it and to work with it in a way that is comfortable, hopefully, but also conducive to my tarot practice, and this just isn't. So as much as I absolutely love this artwork, for one, I have other decks that kind of have a similar vibe. They're not exact, of course, but it's kind of similar. Also, this art to me, like when I get real close up in on it, I don't know if my camera will focus on it, but it looks slightly blurry, and that kind of messes with my eyes a little bit. So between that and the cardstock basically being unshuffleable for me means this deck is not going to stay in my collection. I'm going to talk about it here because I did work with it. I enjoyed working with it in terms of the art and the messaging, just not in terms of the cardstock. And as I've mentioned before, I have enough decks in my collection that I can be really choosy like that. Now, let me just talk about a couple of the decks that I ended up pairing it with throughout the month, which was really fun. This is the Divine Circus Oracle. This is one of those that's kind of like, it's a vibe thing, right? It's kind of a time and a place and a vibe with this deck. What I ended up doing, because not every card felt like it belonged in this enchanted garden world. So what I did most of the time, like this would be a complete miss for me. What I did most of the time was actually just go through the deck, and I picked the card that felt most like it resonated with the moment. So whatever it was that I was feeling at the moment. Let's go with this Maven of Masks, because like she looks a little emo, and that's totally how I feel about this deck. So I pulled that out, whatever, card it was that I felt like resonated with the moment. I really do like this deck, but I feel that this deck works better for me in that way, or it works better if I use the oracle first, shuffle, draw a card, and then see what tarot deck I want to pair with that card, because this deck kind of has a little bit of a weird vibe to it, and not everything feels like it's a good match for like a singular tarot deck. So most of the time, if I'm using the Divine Circus, it's because I want that particular vibe. I do like that it's a little bit like kind of weird and off kilter, and sometimes I feel that way, so I really like that energy about it. But a lot of times I will use it in this way, where I will pick the card that most reflects what it is that I'm feeling or what I'm trying to tap into, and then I'll use that to lay my spread around it. So we have this Maven of Mass, and what I ended up doing was pulling 3 cards, and I think I've talked about this before, where I have used these kind of lately as like, this is the sort of energy, or the, really in this case, kind of the archetypal energy that this message is from. Like, it's all from my inner self, but this Maven of Mass is my inner self that's the archetype that's come forward from my inner self for me. And then I've got my tarot cards around it. Usually how I go about this nowadays is, this is kind of like what I know. This is kind of like what's in my conscious mind. This is what's underneath that, so what's in the subconscious, and this is what's sort of above it, so in the higher conscious, or what the higher self needs me to know. So I use these all together, and I kind of read them in that way. And this is how I kind of just take get a snapshot of the moment of what I'm feeling. And then I've been layering this Black Salt Oracle. I've talked about this deck many times over the last couple months, because this has become one of my favorite little oracle decks. It is so versatile. It works so well in my collection. And like, I can throw it at just about anything. I love the little hollow. I'm not usually a blingy hollow person, but apparently I'm going that way these days. In this particular deck, what I love about the hollow is that, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's a trick of the light or my eyes or the cards around it that just creates a visual effect, the hollow will pick up and accentuate different colors from the deck. And like, I just think that's super cool. It makes it really, really versatile. And I love that it's on black. That's like my favorite. This black matte edging came with the deck. It's just like, it's stunning. It's stunning. It's one of my favorite oracles now. I use it all the time. It very rarely leaves my table. So anyway, I'm in this moment and I'm like, okay, here's where I'm at, where I'm kind of like taking like a snapshot of the moment, where I am, what I'm thinking about. And this just kind of allows me to dive into thoughts and feelings that maybe I'm trying to navigate at the moment. And then I will pull some black salt around it. So I've got Lure, which I kind of like to put down here in between what's in the conscious and what's in the unconscious. So kind of like what I need to know around these 2 cards. And then I like to pull one, got the lock here, between these 2 cards, so I can kind of see like, what's the connection between what's going on underneath and what my higher self is trying to tell me. So we've got the lock here. So this tells me that there's like an inaccessibility to this. I can't access this message right now, probably because of what's going on over here, right? I've got this Lure, this, I think that's the Queen of Swords. Also have a really hard time reading this deck. This Queen of Swords is kind of drawing me into this Nine of Pentacles underneath here. So this is me like trying to get all my shit together and kind of failing at the moment. And I'm failing because I've got this lock here and I've got this Hierophant, and I'm just not quite connecting to that energy. And we've got the Maven of Mass here. Now I can jump into the guidebook and just to kind of give me a little bit of an idea of what that Maven of Masks is talking about. Although a lot of times with this particular deck, I kind of just go more intuitively. But since we're here, I really just kind of like to read this first little section, because like as per usual with Alana Flowerchild decks, there's quite a bit of write-up, and I just most of the time don't have the time or intention to read all of this. But I do like these little snippets here. So I love when guidebooks include like a little takeaway message, or just like a little short thing that I can tap into when I don't want to go into all this. So it says, who do you want to be? Try that self on for size. You might just discover another genuine facet of you beyond your known identity. The Maven of Mass tells you, act as you wish to be, and so you shall be. That's kind of lovely. It's very fitting for what I've been going through lately on a personal level, just kind of in my internal world. It's been a little bit chaotic. There's been a lot of struggles lately, and this is just me trying to like recalibrate, find my way back through. Y'all know I don't do like sample readings because apparently I have no ability to do that. And my cards will always call me out on my dirty laundry. And here they all are, just on show for everybody. I just found that this was quite a bit of a frustration for me, to the point, as I mentioned, that I was like kind of groaning every time I sat down to pull it out, because I was just like, man, I don't want to fight with this deck. I don't want to fight with the cardstock. I don't want it to be a hard shuffle. I don't want it to be something that's difficult to work with. And so like I did find myself kind of not wanting to use it simply because of the cardstock. And that's really a shame because the art is beautiful. Although I do have other decks that do something very similar, so I'm fine with rehoming it, which is definitely what's going to be happening with this deck. I'm not going to be keeping it because I am trying to be very mindful about what is in my collection and what I'm hanging on to. And a deck like this where the cardstock is just enough of a deterrent means it's going to go, and because I'm not going to use it. All right, let's just get the other frustration deck out of the way. And this is the Magical Hours Tarot. Now, I put it all back together in its box. This, I've mentioned before, this box in box thing like kind of drives me bananas because like it's a lot of packaging, and it's like, it's fine. Again, that's a me thing. The tuck box is, if I was gonna keep this deck, spoiler, I'm not, but if I was gonna keep this deck, I would definitely be doing something different with this box situation. The guidebook is like, it's nice, it's fine. And again, here's the thing. I really, really like the art in this deck. Again, this is another US Games deck. So, I mean, I'm kind of leaning towards not doing so much of their decks anymore because I can't with their cardstock. This one is not matte like the Enchanted Garden, and it's glossy, and that's fine. Like, glossy sucks when you're trying to make videos because, yeah, it's catching all my lights. But like, it does make the colors pop, and I get that, and that's fine. But again, we're back with this super thick cardboardy cardstock that I just can't like, look at that. I just can't shuffle that. Let me just, for for comparison's sake, let me get just kind of like a normal tarot. We'll talk about this one here in a minute, but just kind of a normal, like regular weight tarot deck. And let's look at the difference. Like, so to even get them down at the same size, I have to take out this chunk of cards. But like, even it's like bigger. It's bigger and it's thicker, and it's just like this cardstock does not bend, and it's just it's just a frustration, y'all. I'm so sorry. Like, again, I'm having my emo month. And again, I really like the artwork. I think it's really clever. I think it's really well done. And it's a beautiful deck. But again, we're back to the same old story of, I have lots of other decks that do this. I have lots of other decks that have beautiful collage like this. And this is basically just, digital collage, digital art. This one, while it's beautiful, doesn't necessarily do anything super different than anything else that I have. And so it's not different enough to make me want to fight the cardstock for it. And it really is a shame because it's beautiful. But again, I'm at the point in my tarot collection that I have pretty much everything I could possibly need somewhere in my collection. If I want this kind of dreamy, photo collage-y kind of art, I have several not only indie decks, but also a couple mass market decks that do this as well, Dreamkeepers being one of them. There's that other deck, the Tarot of Mystical Moments. I no longer have that one because, again, same space scenario where it sat too much in the same space as my Dreamkeepers, and there's only so many of those types of decks that I need. And so I've decided to start sort of rehoming and keeping only the ones that really work well for me. And again, this is just another deck that is large. It is like, I can't even get my hands around it really. It's like, it's a stretch. But okay, so I did that, but I can't actually really shuffle it very well. I can try to corner and then but you see, this whole process of trying to figure out how to shuffle again takes me out of the process. So I have to break it down, and there are very few decks that I make exception to do this with because it totally interrupts my flow of my readings and how I approach them, which is, even if I'm doing a super mundane reading, I still approach it kind of like it's a ritual, and shuffling is a part of that ritual. Like, I can't even get my hands around this deck. And this is the problem for me, is that I feel like a lot of these publishers are making card decks that are more like art cards, and that's fine, except for this is a tool and it's a deck and I meant to use it and shuffle it. And so this is my frustration. So no matter how beautiful I think the artwork or how clever I think the interpretations of the tarot is, I am not going to go to this one. I'm not going to see it on my shelf and go, oh, I just absolutely need to use that, when I have other decks that do the same thing, but I can actually use them and shuffle them. And so that's my frustration. That's my rant. Okay, I'm going to get off the cardstock thing. Also because the rest of the decks I have, their cardstock is absolutely fine, if not beautiful. All right, so let's talk about another deck that I have really enjoyed working with. I'm probably still going to keep around on my table for a while. This is the Trash Panda Tarot. And again, this is another indie deck that I pretty much bought like sight unseen. And then, oh my goodness, when I went through it with my members, I was so delighted because I had not seen this deck at all. Like basically Lisa sent me a link and I purchased it just based on the name. So like I did not look at any of the cards. I just literally clicked add to cart. And here's the reason for that, because in BG3, the game that Lisa and I are playing, my current character, I sort of designed her after a trash panda. She's a rogue druid and she is kind of trash panda-y. She's kind of feral. Lisa's character likes to tease her all the time that like she's dirty and everything. And like it was fun. So I bought it for that because this is now a Ren deck as well. But also when I started looking through it, the pentacles are D20s and I just couldn't. The cute aggression that I had over that was just, and the swords are sporks. I mean, this deck is just full on good mood deck. So while I might be like emo and grumpy about some of my other decks that I worked with in August, I absolutely loved working with this one. It was such a treat. I tried throwing all kinds of things at this deck. So I'll probably do a video on it at some point because it was a really fun experience. So I kind of went into my readings with this like a trash panda, just like grabbing whatever I could and seeing how it worked together. And I really, really enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun. Look at the backs. The backs are so fun. This is a deck that's beautiful. Like there's nothing fancy about this cardstock, but like, see, this is what a deck of cards should do. It should be able to shuffle, right? I should be able to pick it up, shuffle it, and then lay my cards. And that's really, at the end of the day, that's really all I want out of a deck of cards, is to be able to shuffle it. I will put up with bad artwork over bad cardstock. Yeah, this one was an absolute treat. So I did throw some weird things at it just for the heck of it. So I'll kind of show you here. I did throw the black salt at it. The black salt actually works really well. Let's just do that same sort of reading that I just did, because that really is, unless I'm like got a particular like question, that really is sort of my go-to right now. Let's do something different. Let's shake it up with the Hide Tarot. So I talked about this deck, I think last month. This deck is still on my desk. I'm still working with it. I'm really enjoying it. I've started pairing it a little bit with the black salt because they actually work really well together. This deck for me, I think I've mentioned last time, really functions as a tarot and an oracle in one. And it's really, really fascinating and multifunctional because it kind of does whatever I need it to do in the moment, which is kind of fantastic. Like right now, what I'm going to use it as is an archetypal energy to guide this reading. And we're going to see what comes up. I think I popped some of my cards upside down, but that's okay. I can fix that later. Again, another beautiful deck that like it shuffles really well. It's just like thin and flexible and I love it. Okay, let's see what we get. We're going to do some strange. We got the Vision. Okay, so the Vision is, I'm going to have glare here. Hold on. Try to get some of that glare off here. It's quite early as I'm recording this, so we're just going to roll with it. Okay, so we've got the Vision, and that is our archetypal energy for this reading. Now we're going to pull some trash pandas. Let's just see what's going on with this Vision. I could pull in the Eight of Wands, but using it in this way, I'm actually letting it function a little bit more like an oracle. And I really kind of love that about this deck. It really does just do whatever I need it to do in the moment. And it functions beautifully that way. So let's see what we get. We got the Seven of Swords. I love that. Underneath is the Knight of Wands. He's got a little s'more stick. So cute. And then we've got the Magician in the higher self. So conscious is the Seven of Swords. Yeah, I know this is going on. It's a bit crazy. It's fine. Underneath that, we've got the Knight of Wands where like, I'm still trying to get shit done, right? I'm still trying to tap into this vision, get things done. And then the super conscious over here, the higher self message is the Magician. So like, it's like telling me, you got this, you can do it. It's fine. You'll figure it out. Can you tell I'm in a little bit of a weird space right now? It just, again, the cards will always shout me out, but that's fine. That's what we're here for, right? We're here to see how these decks actually function in my real life, like how I actually use them. I'm gonna scoot these up just a tad. So again, let's use the black salt in that same way where we're gonna look down here between the connection points. So we have the cook pot. I love that. What's cooking down here? Something's going on. And I love that it's like actually almost looks like maybe it's kind of overflowing. Like there's too much going on in this cook pot here. We got too many things going on here. Like this raccoon's got all of these sporks. Like he's got this big cook pot that's overflowing. He's still trying to get stuff done. So like, man, he's going to pack up his stuff and try to get where he's going. We've got the Mask with the Magician. So I feel like, again, there's some masking going on here in terms of not really wanting to see or like pretending that everything's okay when it's not. Pretending that you're being the magician when you're not. Like, not you, me, but if it resonates for you, that's cool too. Again, definitely calling me out on all of my work stuff. But I've really been enjoying tapping into the trash panda this way. Like, not so much worrying about like the aesthetic of it or like what it's going to pair with, and kind of just letting it like be whatever in the moment. And it's actually working really well for that. I'm just making sure that I don't mess my cards up. I really have been enjoying that, just grabbing this deck and then, you know, going to my shelf and just grabbing this, grabbing that, you know, kind of like a little raccoon digging through the trash and just throwing some cards down and seeing what happens. And it's been a lot of fun. There's been a lot of freedom in that as well, especially when I kind of don't know exactly what I need or my thoughts and feelings are a little bit scattered. This process has been really good for me to kind of just step outside of like the everyday sort of things that I need to do and kind of just take a moment and breathe and be like, okay, where are we at? What's going on? And how can we move forward from here? And so the trash panda has been really fantastic for that. I've really enjoyed working with it. It does have a little guidebook, but the guidebook really just kind of tells you like what's going on in the card, and then there are some keywords. Like it's enough if you don't have a clue what you're doing with it, but if you've got a good handle on the RWS, I don't think you need it at all. And for me, it's really about the artwork. And like this is what decks should be. A nice little box with a small little guidebook and cardstock I can shuffle. Okay, really, I'm gonna stop harping on it. And last, we'll just talk really quickly about the Hide Tarot here, because again, this is a deck that I have been working with and I'm really enjoying getting to know it. Again, it really functions well, just no matter what I wanna throw at it. Let's do a little, just for the heck of it, since we're here. Let's do one more sort of maybe, I don't know, takeaway message or something with this little deck here, and give the black salt an actual shuffle because I've kind of just been throwing cards down. So what I've been exploring with this little combo here is pulling the black salt as my focus point with incense for today. Okay. So what do we need to burn? That's the sense I'm going to go for. What do we need to burn? There's lovely interpretations in the guidebook, and sometimes I do get into that with the black salt, but like I don't need to, and that's amazing. Sometimes there's an intuitive hit that just comes right from the get-go, and if that happens, then I roll with it. If I'm kind of feeling like I don't entirely know what it's meaning for me in the moment, then I'll get into that little guidebook and see what it has to say. So we're going to let something burn. We're going to let something smolder, smoke. We've got this stone with the 10 of Pentacles. That feels appropriate. And the bell with Temperance. Okay, again, for me, I'm just getting those same messages over and over again because this is like what's going on in my life at the moment, what's going on in my head. And I'm, looking at trying to create things. I'm trying to get a lot of working parts going together. And like sometimes I just need to like just let it chill. I just need to let it kind of just burn and do its thing. And that's where that balance is going to come from, right? Just letting those things kind of simmer and burn and maybe just work themselves out as they're supposed to, rather than trying to force things to, go in a different direction or try to force it to be done or whatever it is. And I've really been enjoying working with these in that way. Oftentimes I will come to these two when I don't have a clue. Like I know something is up, and like I can feel it. I can feel that something is up, something is going on, but I don't entirely know what it is or like how to articulate it. And this deck has really been amazing for that, because it really makes me step outside of my sort of rote tarot knowledge, right? The kind of memorization that I go to. And even though I don't strictly read RWS, I do have my own sort of language with the tarot. And that does kind of become its own sort of like habitual lens that I use. And sometimes it's nice to step outside of that. And this deck really gives me the opportunity to do that. And it's been really great for I don't know what's going on. And then pairing this with this deck that is a little bit outside of the norm with the Black Salt Oracle, which just has this really fantastic ability to get right at the heart of something. It's just so clear and spot on, and like it speaks with just this fundamental truth that is just always so on the surface for me. And I really enjoy that. And that's great for me when I pair it with a deck that sometimes I don't always know what's going on in these cards or what it really means in the moment. But putting these two together in this way has been really helpful for trying to help me kind of unlock things when I don't really know what the problem is and I don't really know why I'm thinking the things that I'm thinking or I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. These two decks have been really great for that. And so I've pulled them out quite a bit when actually things feel heavy. And there's something about these two decks that when everything feels heavy, I don't know if it's just on the surface, they're like very black and white. But there's all these shades of gray in the Hide Tarot, and then the Black Salt, of course, if you tip it into the light, like there's like a rainbow in all of these images. And there's just something about that just really allows me to kind of step outside of everything and get really clear and really focused, and then allows me to kind of like dive deep into, okay, I've got the tooth with the Fool here and the coin purse. And what could that mean for me in this moment? What is that reflecting in terms of like how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking? What does the tooth make me think of? What does the Fool make me think of? What does the coin purse make me think of? Sometimes I do some journaling, not anything in a fancy tarot journal. I just grab a scrap sheet of paper or grab a notebook that I happen to have laying around, and I just do some journaling around what that means for me, just trying to suss out my own thoughts and feelings. And these two decks have been really, really fantastic for that. I've really enjoyed it. Again, two decks that are probably not going to leave my table anytime soon. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. As always, you'll find links for everything I can link to in the description box below. Let me know how your August went, what you were up to. I hope that you had a wonderful month, and we'll see each other again in September.